I don't even want to start the hour when I hear this song. I just want to let the beat go. All right, everyone, welcome to the third hour of the Elias Makos Show, and we're also close to the weekend here on the program. Let's talk a little bit about your investments for a second here, because, it's an uncertain world. It seems like there's always something happening in the headlines that leads to, stock markets are going down. Then the next day they shoot back up. What was it at the start of the week, right? Trump is going to impose tariffs on Europe. The entire market went down. It was just red everywhere. And then, what was it, 2 days later? They have a deal. Everything's fine again. So what do you do when times are uncertain? Where should you be parking your money? Let's head to Richard Lapointe, someone who knows a thing or two about money, senior portfolio manager at CIBC Wood Gundy. Richard, welcome back to the show.
Thank you, sir.
What were you? So let me go into your brain for a second for our listeners here. It's the weekend. And Trump, there's always a tweet. And the tweet's like, I'm putting on tariffs on Europe. And everyone's like, oh, my God, when the markets open back up, it's not going to be good. What goes through your mind when, those things come out in a tweet or in a headline?
Look, I've become numb to this. His approach, I'm surprised we don't all get it yet. But what he does, he opens the door, throws the grenade in, closes the door, it explodes, everyone freaks out, we run with like a chicken without a head, then he opens the door and starts negotiating. It's been his policy. Again, he came in with the whole concept of, we want to take over Greenland. Of course he doesn't want to take over Greenland. We're going to buy out Greenland. Of course he doesn't want to. First off, the United States doesn't have the $1 trillion that it needs to send to Denmark to do that. It's not going to do that. Its budget deficit doesn't permit that. It was quite clear from day one. But in the end, he got whatever he needed anyway. All the military that he wants to put up there, he can do, and there's no lease issue. He just does it. And the mineral rights, he will have access to any minerals he wants to pull out of the ground. So the market got ahead of that and finally realized that, not so much of a worry, and bing, bang, boom, we turned around. And more importantly, it was a big turnaround on the U.S. side. Remember something. There is something that came up in Davos that has to be put on the table. The world without the United States as an economy, forget the people, forget the government, forget all the moral issues, as an economy. The planet doesn't have the U.S. consumer. It gets real dark real quick. Okay? So that is something that we need to see that consumer protected. Otherwise, not good.
So, Richard, let me throw one thing at you, okay? It was based on what you said. You sort of say it matter-of-factly, like we all knew, okay? Like we all knew on what Trump really wanted in Greenland. If that's the case, then when everything turns red, okay, this week at the start of the week, do you go out on a buying spree? Because it seems like you're pretty definitive in your assessment that you knew how this would play out.
So, again, I forgot to start, Elias, with my disclaimer. These are my opinions and not those of the CIBC banks. But, yeah, I've been buying into every sell-off. When the market sells off, I've been buying. Listen, we're now facing an environment where you have interest rates going down. You have regulatory pressure, meaning pressure to take rules off. And you have taxation coming off. Not necessarily here, but in the States for sure. You get all those three things going at the same time. That is like rocket fuel, right? And a lot of building, a lot of investment going on. When I look at the interest rates we make on our money, so let's say I go into a GIC for 5 years, 3.5 maybe if I'm lucky. After tax in Canada, that's 1 3/4. That doesn't cover our basic inflation.
Yeah.
So in effect, you're losing. So of course, money will flow back to the equity markets to try and make more. And I can see every time I see the flows go out for a day and then flow in for a week. I think that's going to be the case for a while.
Let me ask you if it changes where you think people should be putting their money, because some people are adverse to uncertainty. And there seems to be a lot of people saying, well, you know what? Here's the answer to that, gold. Or, here's the answer to uncertainty, other types of commodities. How do you view it? Like if you hate uncertainty, how do you change the way you invest?
So I started in September of 1990 as an investment advisor. So now 35 years doing this. This is the only job I've ever known. And in my entire time, every time I saw a sector go parabolic, where it goes up a little bit more, and then straight up, it has always been an extraordinary opportunity to sell. So gold went parabolic. Gold and silver did that in the last 12 months, just straight up. I'm not there. Mm-hmm. I just can't go there. I see no value. I'm a value guy, right? I want to buy $1 for 75 cents. I don't want to buy $1 for $2 in the hopes of selling it for $3.
Yeah.
So, there's not that value everybody calls, that refuge. When all my clients start calling me saying, Rick, we got to buy gold, that's a really bad sign.
Yeah, they're chasing. They're chasing there, right?
No question.
Okay, can I throw one thing at you? Got a note from a listener. Okay, this is a question from a listener. They are wondering why 10 to 30-year interest rates are rising in U.S. Treasuries. You have a thought there on that front?
It's not just U.S. Treasuries, right? The Japanese yen, the Europeans, all of it. Stronger economies imply more inflation. The yield curve is inverted, which means that short-term interest rates are small and long-term interest rates are high. Everyone talks about how these long-term bonds going up is a sign of distress. It is when they go crazy. So when something goes from 1 to 3 or from 1 to 10, that's a bad sign. That means that people are abandoning bonds. But what's happening in the U.S. is people are selling bonds because they see the growth rate in the economy and they're moving to stocks. That's not a bad sign. That's actually a sign of great confidence.
Yeah, they have faith in that U.S. market. And
it seems to be that faith has certainly paid off in the last 3 and 4 years.
And just in recent times, I know the Canadian market, the banks and other Canadian equities have had a decent recent history. What do you foresee in the next little while for the Canadian market?
The Canadian banks, Canada has, so here I have to bring politics back online. And I know what I'm about to say is going to be unpopular, right? So you're going to get a whole bunch of emails about how I'm a Trump lover. Really not. But that's not the point. Whether I love the man or not is not the point. I see no value in Canada antagonizing the U.S. I see no value in a speech that, talks about the Americans becoming hegemons. I see no value in us going towards China, trying to make deals. I really think that all that's going to do is put a lot of pressure on our economy, and the negotiation on the USMCA is going to be extraordinarily difficult. I see no value there. So I think Canada's got an issue, and I think that could put a lot of weight on the economy. And if it's the case, the most cyclical part of the economy is the Canadian banking sector. Like that could easily fall off real quick.
Food for thought, yeah. Richard, listen, we'll leave it there. It's always great talking markets and finances with you. Thanks for coming on today.
My great pleasure.
I'm Dylan Playfair.
And I'm Tyler Smith.
We're putting loneliness in the penalty box by talking to some of our favorite athletes about the importance of friendship.
This is Bromance.
Bromance is brought to you by Charm Diamond Centers, proudly Canadian-owned and operated. Charm has been part of your love stories and bromances for over 50 years.
And you can find Bromance on the iHeartRadio network or wherever you get your podcasts.